So welcome everyone. So I'm Andrea Morrison and I run the Flourishing Business Community. Just sorting out here, just that's better so I can just see everybody. That's great. And I am, for better words, I describe myself as a personal performance coach and I work exclusively with mindset. Now, my view is that the work that I do and the principles that I share, which some of you may be aware of, is like the crucial part of the personal performance jigsaw. And when we understand more about how our experience works and our experience is made up, what it's actually made up of, we can start to really tap into the well of potential that we all have. And that's certainly been my experience, especially over the last kind of couple of years. And for that, my experience has been that I've been able to have more impactful connections, better conversations with people, have deeper connections, which has clearly had a massive impact on my own business, as well as my own personal life. And I suppose we overlook as well the impact that it has on freeing our minds and clearing all that clutter, which enables us to be kind of more inspired and more motivated and more confident and happier and chilled out, and all the things that we spend years craving for and searching for. This kind of one simple key kind of unlocks all of that, which is why I get kind of really quite passionate about it. So tonight, what I'll be exploring is particularly confidence. And whilst I do that, what I'd really like you to do is kind of listen with nothing particularly on your mind. This is never really an intellectual exercise of, which model am I using or which checklist am I using or whatever. And I do have clients try to tease out what it is that I'm doing. Oh, is that the such and such model that you're using? And there's no modules. Okay, there's no techniques. Okay, so I just would love you to just sit there and just let it wash over you in some ways and just see what occurs to you. And if anything does occur to you, then feel free to share in the chat box, because it's lovely to have those interjections as we're going through. Or if you want a more private setting, then obviously the Flourishing Business Community is a private group on Facebook. So you're more than welcome to share your thoughts and reflections in there as well. And just sort of sit back and enjoy. So as I said, the purpose of tonight was really to explore this idea of confidence, this kind of elusive confidence that we all want, it seems. And more often than not, clients will say to me, I would say 99% of my clients will at some point say they have a confidence problem, or that's what they perceive. They have an issue with confidence. And I have a self-confidence issue, or I have a confidence issue in this situation, or something like that. And my take on confidence is that when we understand the kind of nature of it more, we can understand it a little bit more and we can access it a little bit more. And so we become more consistently confident. So, when you meet somebody and they just seem to be super grounded and really confident in who they are, and they just seem to have this knowing about them, that they know who they are. They know what it is that they want out of life. Nothing really seems to faze them. Things go wrong and they just go, oh, that's okay. And they just bounce back. And they just, you also really seem to really like those people as well. They're really hard to not like. And how I kind of seems to me is that it's all part of the same package. The confidence, the resilience, the likability, it's all kind of part of the same thing. It all kind of goes hand in hand. And this is what happens when we are truly kind of confident, when we're able to access that confidence. It's really real and really true. And there's something very kind of almost tangible about it. You know, when we talk about people having a false confidence, you know, we can pick those people up really easily as well. When they're really trying to fake it until they make it type people, we can pick that up too. And it's like when we have this innate confidence, it's really 100% authentic. And I know that word is really used a lot in the coaching world, and I kind of cringe when I use it, but it is authentic because it's real. It's something we can really almost see. Now, my experience before I came to this understanding is completely different to my experience now. You'd be surprised to hear. So it was quite simple. I'd describe myself as being really confident on the outside, but crushingly lacking in confidence on the inside. Like I would just be like, oh no, I'm really not a confident person at all, but I just put on this really confident persona. So for those who kind of know my background, I was a barrister by trade. So it was my trade to be confident. And so I would almost like put on my confidence. You know, when the suit went on, the heels went on, the lippy went on, I was good to go. But as soon as that kind of went off, I was kind of a different person in many ways. You know, I wasn't perhaps the person I was portraying. There was a real kind of incongruence there, you know. And I would describe myself as just not being self-confident at all, you know. So for me, my lack of confidence was a lack in my own ability, complete self-doubt in how able I was, a fear of being found out. You know, people talk about imposter syndrome. Well, yeah, I kind of had that t-shirt, well and truly. You know, I would be really crippled with fear that somebody would watch me and go, oh my goodness, you're absolutely rubbish at that. You know, whereas everybody else had been saying I was really good. There would be that one person who would see the real me. Yeah. And I would be running scared on that one. I'd worry about decisions that I'd made or decisions that I had to make. And I would overthink them and try and work out every single permutation of what could possibly happen before I made that decision, because what would happen if I made the wrong decision? And then I'd ask a ton of people what their views were, because I didn't have the confidence to kind of rubber stamp it. So I'd need their input and their views, and that would all go in the mix. And then I'd think about it a whole ton more and then not really know what to do because I'd have too much going on, you know? So, you know, I never sort of felt that I was really enough, you know, and all of this transcends not just in my professional career, but into my career, into running a business. So I've run my own business now for about 8 years. And it wasn't probably until about 3 years ago that this all started falling away. So I ran my business for 5 years with a crushing fear that I was going to be found out. I had no confidence in my ability in whatever it was I was doing. So I was one of these people that were just going for the course after course after course after course, because of course, knowledge is power, or so I thought. So the more qualifications I had, I thought the more confidence I would have, you know, and actually thinking about it now, you know, that was very prevalent in my previous career, because I would go for the bigger cases. And I think when I've done that case, I'll feel really confident and I'll do it. And then I'd explain it away. Like I'd say, oh, well, it was luck. We had a really good judge, or while the witnesses came up trumps. You know, it would have nothing to, it would be none of my ability that would have steered a good result in any way, shape or form. It was just all luck. And so I'd be always trying to get that next step so that, you know, I could prove to myself that I was good to go, because I always had this feeling that I wasn't enough, you know, and what went hand in hand with that is I always felt that other people were better than me. I always felt that other people were better than me. And certainly early on in my coaching career, I'd be recommending other coaches to people. You know, I'd be, oh yeah, but she's better. You go work with her. I mean, absolutely bonkers, you know. He'd come to work with me and I'd be like, no, I don't think that's not really my field. You know, I'll make some excuse because I always felt that other people were better than me. And again, you know, in my other career, I remember on countless occasions, I would stalk other people's websites, you know, other practitioners' websites. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, they've done this case, they've done that case, they've been reported here and they've been reported, and get myself in a real tears about my opponent and how fabulous they were. And then it would always be down to my husband to go and get the web page of my credentials, and he'd be like, yeah, that shit's scared of you too. And I'd be like, no, but because I'd always go on that premise that somebody else was better than me. So I always look through those kinds of glasses. And generally, when you have that running commentary that you think you know what other people are thinking about you. And I would generally go on the basis that they were criticizing me in some way, or potentially could be criticizing me in some way. So I would always be trying to second guess, they must be thinking this, or they must be thinking that, and then trying to counteract what it was that I thought they were thinking, so that they wouldn't then be thinking it because I'd done one better. It got hugely complicated. But the whole kind of self-confidence package kind of looked like that to me, And looking back now, I can see the implications that had, both on my professional career, not that this isn't a professional career, but traditional professional career, and then as a business owner, and then in my early days as a coach, because I didn't take the opportunities that were presented to me. And often opportunities were presented to me on a plate, and I would talk myself out of them. Because other people were better than me, or because I didn't feel good enough, or I didn't feel like I was qualified enough, or I wasn't ready. That was an excuse that I would use a ton of times. I'm just not ready for this. I don't feel ready. So I wouldn't take the opportunity. I didn't show up in the way that was really good for me to show up. I wasn't showing up in a grounded way, in a kind of like in a innately confident way. The description of the person we just described at the beginning, I never showed up like that. I was so much up in my head, I wasn't even in the room with the other person. If I had to go to a networking event, I was so worried about what it was that I was going to say. What were people going to ask me? What was I going to say then? And all of that going on, that I wasn't even properly listening to people. I couldn't tell you what they did, so, and then I wondered why people weren't connecting with me, and it's just simple things like that where my confidence was hugely getting in the way. I'd not particularly proud of this, but I'd bottle out of stuff. I'd sign up to go to a particular event, or I'd say I'd run a particular event and then make some lame excuse as to why I couldn't do it. Or not follow through on a phone call, or follow through on a contract, or an email, or any of those things I just wouldn't do. Not every single time, but when I wasn't feeling confident, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't follow through on plans. So I'd do my lovely, sparkly 90-day plan, and we're just going to draw, and I wouldn't do any of it. Because I'd look at the first week and think, well, I can't make that call, or I can't do this bit, or that bit doesn't feel right now, or I'm not sure about that. And I'd talk myself out of it. So I'd create a fantastic plan that came from a place of clarity and certainty, and feel really inspired and motivated and excited about it. And then all the self-doubt would creep in and get in the way, and I just wouldn't do it. And so you can see, it when you say it out loud, it's not rocket science to know that you can't build a business like that. You can't have a successful career like that. As it happens, I still managed to have a really successful career at the bar, but, I think I was dragged there kicking and screaming. And there was a lot of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, which again is hugely exhausting. Wouldn't it be great just to feel confident anyway, and just do it? And that's kind of the place where I am now. And it, for one, I have a lot more energy than I used to have years ago. So I think that has something to do with it, But the impact is huge. And it's something that we miss out in the whole kind of performance equation, if you like. Now, I had tried lots of different things, loads of different things. And, I tried sort of NLP and hypno and EFT and counseling and positive thinking and mantras and meditation and the whole getting up early and doing the whole routine thing and all of that. Now, I'm not knocking that, because in some ways it helped, but it didn't, for me, have a long-lasting impact. It was a bit like whack-a-mole. So it would deal with the issue at the time, and then I'd just go and create another one that I had to get over, and then I'd have to do the same thing again, and then another issue would come up. So it never seemed to really be a solution that had a permanent kind of fix, if you like. And then I was introduced to these principles, and they're colloquially known as the 3 principles. And I thought it was a really nice concept. I enjoyed reading the book. That was good. And I understood that thought created my reality. Yes, it was down to me. I get that. Okay, so all this stuff that's in my head is just made up. Yeah, I get that. So I did the whole challenging my thinking thing. That's what I got initially from this understanding was, okay, I need to create more thinking to add to the negative thinking so that I can feel good. All right. So I started arguing with it. Okay, so I would have that. just said, me too, more thinking. Yeah, you just do more thinking. So I'd argue with it. I'd have a negative thought come in my head, and I go, yeah, I know you're a negative thought, and I don't need to take any notice of you, and you can just go and do one. And that kind of worked. But again, it took quite a bit of energy, and I had to remember to do it. And some days I didn't feel like doing it. Some days I just wanted to wallow in all the negative thinking and feel really rubbish about myself, which is fine. And I don't have any judgment with that. But in some ways, I'd really missed the point. And it took me a long time to realize that, and it wasn't until I'd stayed in the conversation for a long time, and I'd really had lots of conversations about the principles and watched videos and had loads of coaching about it, and that I really started to see for myself what this real deal about confidence really was. And it had been there for a long time. It'd always been there, but I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it. And how I kind of see it now, or one way of kind of explaining it is when you look at a small child, like an 18-month-old, that really cute stage before they get to the tantrumy stage, they've got it all. They've got all this confidence. They've got all this motivation. They have loads of creativity. They think really big, like they can just do anything. I mean, for goodness sake, they're learning to walk, which is huge, and people put them on show, as soon as they start to learn to walk, it's like, oh yeah, look at you walking. And then they fall over and everybody laughs at you, and you don't care. You really don't care. You don't get to bed and think, oh, I'm 18 months old now. I'm too old for this walking thing. Or I tried it yesterday and I'm not going to do it again. I can't do it. I'm a failure. I'm useless. So-and-so is better at walking than me, so I'm just going to give up. You don't have any of that. Because at that point in your life, it's like you're before the thought. You're before the dialogue. It's you don't have all of this kind of self-conscious, self-limiting, self-doubting thinking. It's just something you want to do, so you just go do it. Now, I'd heard that spiel a lot, and I'd spoken that spiel a lot. Still didn't really get it. And I could see in my clients that, when I said to them all of this, you look at that little kid, look at that little child, got it all, haven't they? They've got it all. And then I'd say to them, and that's you. That's at your core. That's never changed. It's never gone. And sometimes you'd see a little light bulb go off, more often than not. But it still took me a while to actually see that for myself, for me. Now, I had no doubt in my clients that they had this. I really had absolutely no doubt. I just couldn't really see it in myself. Okay. Because for so many years, I thought that I was broken. I really did. I didn't think that that could possibly ever be my baseline. You know, I kind of thought that I was the exception to the rule, that somehow, although this applies to everybody on the planet, it just didn't apply to me, because I had a ton of evidence to support the fact that I was broken, you know, and I'd been told I was broken. I'd gone on courses where on one particular occasion, the course leader was at pains to tell me how broken I was, but that he could fix me for a fee. But, you know, that I was broken, that was my default at that point. I was broken. And I really kind of believed that in some way, you know, that my past and my past wasn't horrific. There were no massive skeletons or anything like that in my closet, but I just felt that it had affected me. And so it took me a while to really kind of see this. And I can remember clearly the time that it was. And I was on a particular training course, and I'd had a very kind of inconsequential conversation with somebody. But we'd been talking 3Ps for a little bit. So we were in that kind of space. And it hit me like a truck. And I just thought to myself, oh my goodness, I am completely whole, just like everybody else. It was like for the first time I could distinguish the physical mechanics of my head and me as a person, the thing that makes me me. And that was whole. That was completely untouchable. It was completely indestructible. You know, we talk about the human spirit, don't we? And how indestructible the human spirit is. And we see amazing stories about people doing just incredible things after, you know, such dire things have happened to them. And that, to me, in that moment, I saw that I was made of exactly the same stuff. That was the human spirit, and that is what I had. That was my core. That's what I saw in my kids when they were learning to walk. That's what I see in my kids now. It's what I see in every single client that sits in front of me. I see that pureness, and in that moment, I saw it in myself. And when I saw that, and I saw that I had it already, you know, and that it was there, that had a huge implication to how I saw all the scary thinking that I was doing before, because in that moment it didn't make any sense. It wasn't that it didn't make any sense to do the thinking, right? Because the thinking keeps John's just said, I remember thinking it can't be that simple. Absolutely. And I think it is simple. On an intellectual level, the principles are really simple. But it's not always simple to see. It's not always simple to see. And when you do see it, it comes from a completely different place. It's not coming from this intellectual place at all. It's coming from a place of knowing, because you've seen it for yourself. You really have seen it for yourself. And so when I saw this, this thinking that would just come in, it was like it didn't make sense. I didn't have to challenge it anymore, because it made about as much sense as you saying to me, there's a pink alien in a garden. I'd kind of probably, if you said that to me now, I'd probably go, what? I might look out the window just to check. But it really wouldn't make any sense. It would just be, just silly. Because it doesn't tie in with what I know. That the likelihood is that pink aliens don't exist. And so the likelihood of there one being in my garden would be just, minute, you know? So it was like I had this really strong, deep knowledge of who I was and what I was, and that I was confidence, and I was motivation, and I was resilience. And so some innocuous thinking that was coming in, however loud that would be, kind of just didn't tie in with that at all. Because if you remember before, I thought that my reset point, if you like, that I was broken. So that thinking that would come in would just confirm what I already knew at that stage. So it made sense. Whereas once I saw my true nature, I was looking at it from a completely different perspective. It just shone a completely different light on the nature of that thinking. And so the impact of that was quite, it was quite unbelievable, really, because, well, for one, I never got that churning feeling anymore, you know. And I go to, like, if I got to do networking events, or like the other week, I opened my email on a Monday morning to find that I'd been invited to a talk on the Tuesday evening that I was giving, and I had no idea I was giving it. But it really didn't matter, you know. Whereas 4 years ago, that would have sent me in an absolute headspin of, what do I say? Who's coming? Oh my goodness, this means so much. Oh, I'm not going to have to, you know, it would be so noisy. It was a case of, okay, that's fine. I might have to rejig a few things, but as you've now announced it, and there'd been a mix up with the diaries and stuff, it was fine. It was just no problem at all, you know. So, you know, I take opportunities if they feel exciting and they feel, you know, like that it's a good idea, then I just do them and I just see where they go. I'm curious and excited about where they might lead or what might happen about them. But the junk that was there before just isn't there in the same way. You know, there have insecure thoughts that pop in, because we all do, but I see them very differently from where I was seeing them before. You know, it's almost as though knowing this is like knowing that you have a nose on your face. You know, it's so obvious, and so you just wouldn't argue it, you know. And once you see, or imagine if you couldn't see it and then you saw it, so it doesn't really go away. It's always there, you know. And what I wanted perhaps for you to all reflect on this evening is that the times that you felt that you were just like you, times when it felt easy, whatever aspect of your life, whether it's in your work or your job or running your business or whenever, just times when it felt really easy, times when you had that very natural confidence. Because when we get those feelings, that's when we're really connected to that human spirit, if you like. They're connected to the real us. And the way that I kind of see it is that when we're connected to that, you know, that's undoubtedly when we do our best work. That's when we undoubtedly show up in the best possible way that we can be. We're connected to that kind of natural confidence and that natural resilience. And the way that I see it is that the only ever thing that gives the impression that that connection is broken is the nature of our thinking, is that doubtful thinking, that insecure thinking that we get from time to time. And I say it gives the impression because we're always connected to it, like you're connected to your nose. It's like nothing can really get in the way of your face and your nose, and nothing can really get in the way of you and your true nature. But our thinking creates that illusion that it can be. And that's why I kind of know that I don't need to be fixed. I might actually physically need to have a nose job, perhaps, depending on your perspective on what noses should look like. But, you know, in the same way that my nose doesn't need fixing, you know, we don't We don't need to be fixed because we already have that wholeness. We already have that innate capacity for everything that we already need. And that for me was the most impactful part of the principles, is really knowing that I have that access. And it is, and I do a lot of this kind of imagery with my hands, because for me it is like something that is so whole, and so it was always like this ball or whatever of absolutely everything I need that is inside of me. And because I know this, that's the place that I navigate from. That's the place where I make my decisions from. That's the place where I make my connections from. When I have conversations with people, for me, the only preparation I need to do is to ensure that I'm really grounded, I'm really connected, because I know that I have everything I need when I'm there. I know what to say because I'm really connected with the other person. I'm not up in my head. I'm actually listening to them, and all of that insecure thinking that I was doing was only ever getting in the way of what was already there. So I don't need to have a technique. I don't need to remember anything. I don't need to do any special kind of procedure or anything like that. All I need to be aware of is how grounded I am at any given moment. And that's the only prep that I need to unleash copious amounts of confidence that I would ever need in my business or in my private life, or whatever aspect that I want to be in. It transcends through everything. And when we really understand that, when we really see it, because I think sometimes we talk about understanding it, and clients will often say to me, well, what more can I read? What books? Give me more books, give me more books, give me more books. And we get very caught up about this being an intellectual exercise. And yeah, there's some stuff that helps us point us towards it. But the more we see it at play, which is really why after this, I'd really invite you to just think about when you felt really confident, not a false confidence where you had to kind of do a little routine or wear your lucky hat or whatever it is, but like a really innate confidence, because that's when you've caught sight of it. That's when you've had a glimpse of it. And the more we see these glimpses and the more we catch hold of them, the more we see how the mechanics behind it start to work. And that's when we really get to understand it, because we're seeing it working. And the more we see it work, the more we see it work. And then we just see it for what it really is. And then we're looking at everything from a completely different place. So I really hope that you've enjoyed tonight's webinar, and that this has really landed for you in some way. Yeah, John just said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that is so true, because you're always being pulled back towards it. No matter what thought storm is going on, you're always being pulled back towards it. And so if anything does occur to you, or if you do have anything that you would love to share, then feel free to pop over to the Flourishing Business community page and just really, share your thoughts on there, because that would be lovely to hear how it's landed for you. And it'd be great to carry on the conversation. So thank you very much.